I really wanted to make this video because I think Saucony has really stepped up their game here in 2024. I think they have a really good lineup. The materials are really great. The designs are great updates. I think one of the main words you're going to see just kind of continually going on in this video is the word substantial. And we're going to get going right now with the new Saucony Ride 17. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, the word substantial. With the new Power Run Plus midsole, I don't know if it's much thicker than it was before, but it sure feels thicker and more substantial and solid. Let's see here, the uppers and the material and the uppers are just, everything's just more plush and fits really good. I've really had good feedback from customers with the new Saucony Ride 17. It is still an 8mm heel lift. So starting at 35 millimeters with an average of 31. So that's gonna how I'm gonna start describing the midsoles at this point, is that it's an 8mm drop to the front, starting at 35 with an average of 31. Okay. The shoe does come in widths, has a vegan and recycled materials used throughout the shoe, and it's still at 140. This is probably the least kind of like real big change of the shoes that we're going to be going over, but it's still a really big difference. I think one of the biggest things is that midsole, that Power Run Plus midsole, which is basically the same material that came from their high-end Triumph model, which is their top-end model. So it's getting really a nice midsole here. So really good cushioning, very lightweight feeling, and good fitting. So that is the Saucony 17, Ride 17 for 2024. All right, moving on here to the Saucony Guide 17. So one is called the Ride, a little more smooth. It's also more of a neutral support shoe. And then we move on to what I call a medial support shoe. So the shoe will be, as you see in the pictures here, a little more beefed up on the arch or longitudinal arch side of the shoe compared to the Ride, which is to give you a little bit more control, a little bit better durability and stability on the medial side. So if you tend to overpronate, it's going to definitely handle that a little bit better. I do want to point out that this is the shoe that I am currently having my rotation. So within the few of the shoes that I'm running in, the Guide is one of them. So if you have any questions, or if you want a more in-depth review on the Guide 17, let me know. I am using that in my rotation and be happy to do a review, more in-depth review on that. Let me know down in the comments down below. All right, so what else I can tell you about the Saucony Guide 17? Again, much more substantial. In fact, I'd argue and say that this is maybe the most substantial of the three shoes. Makes sense being that it's kind of geared towards that more stability type design. What else? It has that center path technology design on the bottom. Fancy words that it's kind of got decoupling in the foam where some spots are a little bit more beefed up than other spots. So as someone who overpronates and breaks down the shoe more aggressively on the medial side, it should handle that and be able to last a little bit longer, be a little more durable on the medial side of the shoe. One thing I do think is it's not quite as substantial or durable on the lateral side of the shoe. So if you tend to really crush and break down the shoes on the lateral side, like the pinky toe side of the shoe, then I would probably stick with one of the other two shoes in this lineup, the Ride or the next shoe I'm going to go over in just a moment. But if you tend to land on the heel, external side of the heel, and then roll in a little bit, pronate in, this is a great shoe. One of the unique differences on this shoe is that it's a 6mm drop, starting from 35 with an average of 31. So very similar to the Ride, but it's a 6mm drop, which because I walk run, I really like this shoe. This is the reason why I really asked for this shoe, is because of that 6mm drop instead of an 8mm drop. So if you're walking, for me, I feel like it's much smoother heel to toe in this shoe because of that lower 6mm drop. But it starts at 35, so it's a very plushy, very cushy, and still very substantial shoe. It is also under 10 ounces, so it is still surprisingly light. So is the Ride. The Ride is also very light, I believe it's under 10 ounces. Let's see here. Both the Ride and the Guide both come in widths. So if you need a wider width, unfortunately, I don't think I saw narrows. So that's a little bit of a zonk, if you know what I mean. Just saying, putting it out there, a little bit of a zonk. So anyway, yeah, I don't see widths in these shoes. Let's see here. Mentioned that already. It does fit a little bit on the wide side as well, but it does come in even in a wider width. And just like the Ride, it's a vegan and recycled material shoe. Keeps that $140 price point, which is great. And anyway, that is the Saucony Guide 17. I think that's kind of like probably the biggest updated shoe here of the bunch. So that had a little bit more information on that shoe than the other ones. All right. I do want to say thank you so much to all the new subscribers. I've gotten a good amount of new subscribers in the last month or so. I really appreciate it. Please, if you like, subscribe. If you like the videos and stuff, please subscribe and stuff. It really helps out the video. I'm sure you've heard from everybody on YouTube. Yes, it really does help. It does kind of help the algorithm push up our video. So I really appreciate it. So please subscribe, like the video, and share it if you're enjoying the content here. And back to the rest of the video. Okay, the next shoe here, last one of the three kind of major core shoes here. I do have two other shoes I will talk about after this one. The Saucony Triumph 22. This is a pretty good update as well. I would say not quite as much as the Saucony Guide, which was just a complete overhaul, but this is pretty good update. Again, has that a little bit more substantial with a wider stance, a wider platform than the previous model. Much more plush. This shoe is arguably the most plush, cushy, smooth, soft, luxurious new shoe that I've seen for 2024. So really plush, luxuriously feeling good. It's just kind of yummy. It's kind of yummy feeling. I'll be really quite honest. It's super cushy. It's got not only Power Run in there, but it's got Power Run PB, which is their newest, greatest midsole material. So I think the PB maybe stands for plush and bouncy, because it is very plush and very bouncy. Again, wider platform that gives a little bit more stability, I think, than the previous one. It still has that 10 millimeter drop from the heel to the toe, but it's starting at 37. So it's a little bit thicker than the Ride by 2 millimeters. It is noticeable, but the previous Saucony Triumph had a ridiculously noticeable high heel, in my opinion, for me. So for me, that shoe just felt always a little bit too high in the back compared to the front. But again, I'm used to like 0 drop or 4 millimeter drop. But so the 10 millimeter in the Saucony Triumph 21 just felt really high. This actually, even though it's still starting at 37 millimeters and it's a 10 millimeter, it feels smoother. Everything in this shoe just feels really smooth. I'm telling you, it just feels really good. The upper is super plush and fits really accommodating. Comes in widths, yeah, it's just the Triumph. When you think of the new Triumph 22, it's just very luxurious, very smooth, very cushioned. So really nice shoe. It's a little bit heavier than the Ride. I think maybe like half an ounce heavier. Let's see, yeah, it's like a little bit over 10 ounces, while the Ride's just a little bit under 10 ounces. So if you want that lighter, more kind of frisky feeling shoe, maybe go with the Saucony Ride. And if you're willing to give up a little bit of that weight, just a little bit more, for that plushy, cushy, wear all day type of shoe, I would look at the Saucony Triumph 22. Now this shoe comes in at $160, so $20 difference for quite a bit more cushion and plushy type of feeling shoe than the Ride. Both are very good. So, all right, that is the core 3 main shoes here. I got an extra bonus set for you coming up right now. Okay, we are on to the bonus shoes. That is the Endorphin line from Saucony. In particularly the Endorphin Pro 4 and the Speed, which both have been updated for this year. Again, both of them much more, I feel, more substantial than last year. Much more dialed in. Much more like you put them on and you just want to go. I do feel like the previous Endorphins, they always felt like kind of a glorified performance-y or plated training shoe. These things you put in your hand and you're like, these things are for racing. Like these feel like racing, like super cushioned plush racing shoes compared to before. Which I always thought they kind of felt like regular trainers with like a nylon or a carbon plate in there. These things feel out of this world, totally different, much more focused on being performance / race day type shoes. As you know, the Pro comes with a carbon plate while the Speed comes with a nylon plate. So you're gonna feel that kind of a little bit additional stiffness from the Pro. Both have an 8mm dropped to the front. Of course, the Pro being starting at 39mm compared to the Speed, which is 36. So again, the Pro is just gonna be a little more substantial feeling shoe than the Speed. The Pro is lighter by about a ½ ounce. I don't think it's overly all that noticeable, to be quite honest. I think the stiffer carbon plate makes that shoe feel more pop than the weight. Let's see here. The Pro also has the Power Run PB. Again, it's more plush and bouncy, I think, and the Power Run HG as well. Not as familiar with that, but the Speed has just the Power Run PB, so it's still pretty plush and bouncy. These shoes do not come in widths, so just want to point that out. There is no widths in these shoes, so if you got a really over narrow foot or super wide foot, you're going to have to do some accommodating there or find something else. All right, let's see here. Here's the big one that the Pro does not have that the Speed have, and this is like a big one for me. The Pro has a glued-in, non-removable insole compared to the Speed, which does have a removable insole. This is like almost a deal breaker for me. So if you wear any kind of insole, like a Superfeet or a Curex or a custom orthotic possibly, you ain't gonna get it in there. It's not gonna go. So yeah, so that's something to keep in mind between these two shoes is the removable or non-removable liner. Both of them are in that same thing here with the vegan and recycled materials. There is a good price difference between these two shoes. Just keep that in mind. The Pro, because of that carbon plate, is $225, while the Speed is at $170. That's over a $50 price difference. I don't really think there's going to be much of a durability difference here. So I don't think like, oh, if I go with the Pro, it's going to be more durable. I kind of don't get that vibe from that shoe. I feel like it's more that you're paying for that carbon plate, that have that really stiff spring back energy feel from the carbon plate. And again, just a little bit thicker with that 39mm starting stack height. So I think it's going to be a little more plushy shoe than the Speed, actually, to be quite honest, and you pay for that. So, but it's a pretty good difference, over $50. So something to keep in mind there. And let's see here. I think between that removable insole, the ½ ounce, only a ½ ounce difference between the two, and the $50 savings on the Speed. I think the Speed is just, I think that is like the performance shoe maybe of the year. All right, I think that is it. That is a pretty solid lineup from Saucony here for 2024. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next video.